Joining me now is U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. Mr. Secretary, thank you very much for joining us. We just got some sad news that human remains were found in that fire. Do you know anything more?
Just what we've seen from the police. I know they'll release more details as appropriate. Anyone who's seen the shocking images knows how serious of a crash and fire it was that ultimately led to that collapse. And, of course, a tragic result. And at the same time, when you consider the amount of traffic that goes over that stretch of highway, really fortunate that there were not more people injured or killed in the course of what happened there. You can see just from the images right there, this is a stretch of road that about 155,000 to 160,000 cars and trucks a day pass over on average, which is, of course, why it is so important to work quickly to get that access restored. And right now, what you're seeing, in addition to the emergency response work that's been going on, is the early work toward making sure that that happens. We're here to support the Pennsylvania DOT every way we can to get that done.
So I imagine the issue here is the steel that reinforces that overpass melted from the heat from the flames. The other side of the highway is also kind of shaky right now. Do you know how much more damage there is, whether it's just contained to that one stretch, that one overpass, or is it further down?
More of that information is going to emerge. What I will say is that nothing will be reopened unless it is 100% safe, and that is always the top priority. Now, while that determination is being made and while the repair work is getting underway, there's going to be a lot of traffic diverted and a lot of need to absorb the traffic coming on alternate routes. I have already been in touch with state leadership, with the mayor and others. Our federal highway administrator is on the ground right now, helping to do the groundwork on that. And SEPTA, which is the local transit agency, has already been adding frequency in order to absorb that. That is no substitute, to be clear, for having I-95 up and running the way it is supposed to be. But the more we can work together to support that process, the more we'll be able to help Philadelphia commuters, truckers, and others manage through that period of disruption until everything can be reopened. Because, again, until we know that it is 100% safe, the Pennsylvania DOT won't be able to reopen that stretch of road.
So it's not just the disruption of the commute for so many Americans. All that is extremely frustrating. It's also financially a big problem. 40% of the GDP goes along that highway. How do you get it back up and running quickly? How long is this going to take? Is it going to be weeks, as you said, or will it be months?
Well, I'm not prepared to weigh in with a timing estimate. That's the exact work that's going on right now on the ground. And I'm planning to go out tomorrow to get a look for myself and consult with local leaders and people who are working the issue as they develop a responsible estimate of the timelines that are involved. But you're absolutely right. This is not just an issue for commuters, passengers, people on their way to work or wherever they're headed. This is also very important to our supply chains. Now, there are alternate routes, and that's what trucks will be using. But those alternate routes were not designed to take on the same level of load that I-95 has had. So until this stretch can be rebuilt, restored, and put back into service, we are going to see impacts across that corridor when it comes to the movement of goods.
I'm sure you've had conversations with your counterparts in other agencies in the government, especially when it comes to the economic fallout. Do you have an idea of what the economic fallout will be from this collapse if it takes weeks or months to get it back up and running?
Well, what we know is that it really is going to depend on how long that takes. Every day is going to count in safely restoring that service. Now, obviously, we're talking about a major structural impact. You see the northbound lanes collapsed outright, and then the impacts on the southbound lanes are being assessed. And all of that physical work has to be done in a way that is 100% confirmed to be safe. But yeah, there's no question that each passing day that you have those detours have those reroutes, there's a substantial economic cost. Now, I'll also say that there's a lot of good work, I think, that we can do, not just on the funding side, but that disaster declaration that Governor Shapiro signed unlocks not just that state funding, but federal funding from our department as well that we're here to fully support with, but also technical assistance. I've talked with the mayor, for example, about adjustments that can be made along those alternate routes to try to get that traffic going as smoothly as possible. It may be something like a two-way route, for example, where it's smarter temporarily to run it on a one-way basis. Things like that we're fully prepared to support and help the city and state authorities with in getting the information, the data, and the analysis they might need in order to minimize the economic impact. But there's no getting around the fact that the economic impact will be real as long as this disruption continues.
How much money coming from the federal government? $7 million from the state. How much from the federal government?
It really depends how much it's going to take. And so these are the kinds of estimates and analyses that are going on right now. But we are here with whatever it takes to get back to normal, because this is an absolutely essential corridor. You don't have to live anywhere near Philadelphia to care about I-95 being in good shape. It's a vital artery for moving people and goods in this country.
Secretary Pete Buttigieg, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.